Hello, folks. Welcome to Speed Gaming 5, and we've got yet another fantastic Timespinner Randomizer tournament match for you folks. Thanks for coming here. If you were watching on Speed Gaming 2, which I hope you were, we had a great match there, and I am very excited for another great match here. With me in the booth is SEZ, and we've got WindFaeMaiden on the left side, Nochibato on the right side, and this promises to be a very exciting match. Zed, how are you feeling about this so far?
Well, I'm feeling great. We got two wonderful runners here, and
Mm-hmm.
just some of the craziest settings leading to the craziest scenes we've seen so far.
Yeah, WinFei Maiden, a speedrunner of the game and a longtime member of the tournament community, as well as just the Time Spinner community in general. Nochibato, this is Nochibato's first tournament, but I think Nochibato's been playing the randomizer for a bit and came in with a solid 8th place on the qualifier seed. So this should be a pretty good match.
Yep,
Um,
100%. Uh,
I guess I can talk a bit about the flags for the tournament. Notably, there's a couple of different flags between this tournament and the previous tournament. We are going to be starting with the Teleri attachment, what's called a quick seed flag. So our runners are going to have the dash right from the very beginning. So things are going to move fairly quickly from scene to scene. And then we're also going to have the I Spy flag turned on, which has made a really big difference in the tournament matches from this year to last year. And that means that in order to break breakable walls that hide rooms with items, they're going to need the item that lets them find those rooms in the first place, which is the Oculus Ring. So these are
yeah,
changes from the previous year. Go ahead.
yeah. And that can prove to be a really big thing in these tournament matches. There have been a lot of quote-unquote upsets where the bottom seed will take out the top seedman by a pretty significant margin, and these settings really give everyone a fighting chance because it's so easy to accidentally skip one important item. We have that Oculus Ring, which is very important. We have our two Geyer boss familiars who
Mhm.
lock two checks each. You know, there are so many things that are capable of going right or wrong that it is made for just really entertaining scenes this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to that, we've got a couple of completely new settings for the randomizer that have been enabled for this year. One is the wheel and spindle warp from the past to the present. We've got the inverted seed setting on, so we're going to be starting in the past rather than the present. And previously, the only way to get to the present was to find the modern warp beacon, a specific item that would let you warp to a new present warp. But we've added the feature and turned on the setting for the wheel and spindle warp, which means if you find both the wheel and the spindle, you can get to the present from the refugee camp warp from the starting area. And this is the first time that this setting has been run in the tournament, and we've already seen several seeds where that is the expected way for the runners to get to the present. So it's another piece of routing to keep in mind. And then we've also got the laser gates prism break flag, which means that instead of needing to beat the 3 bosses in the past to unlock the military hangar, there are items that you can find that will unlock each of those individual laser gates. Um, this actually means something really interesting for the routing for the game, which is in previous years, there were frequently points where the routing didn't expect you to go past the military hangar, past that laser gate at all. And so um, sometimes finding the gas mask would just be bait because that was the logic expected way to get you past that gate. Now, even and also with the gas mask, you could just go out of logic if you really felt like it was the way. You could just kill the person, the boss at the mall without the gas mask and just breathe biscuits for a while and open the way to the military hangar that way. But now there could be laser gates items locked behind the laser gate. So if the logic isn't expecting you to get to the lab, then that means you might not be able to get to the lab at all, which
Yes,
is a very interesting thing for the routing.
yeah, and because we have separated those lasers off of the laser bosses, that is been a huge point in some of these races is deciding whether or not to kill some of those bosses that have less relevancy because of that. There have been a lot of seeds where the first boss kill is halfway through the seed. It's been really interesting, um, especially since with that inverted flag that we were talking about, we're starting in a higher difficulty area than if we were doing a normal start. So yeah, it's been a lot to make those executive decisions to kill or leave the bosses for the time being.
Yeah. And knowing when to take a boss fight is absolutely a strong strategic decision for a runner, right? Sometimes it might be worth it to peek a boss in order to see what boss is there before making a final decision. But knowing like, hey, this is a difficult fight for its location, maybe it's not worth it to fight it now for one item. Like that is something that we've seen from good runners time and time again. We've done a little bit of adjustments to the audio. If anybody can verify that that's better, please let us know in chat. And how close are we to ready here, Zed?
I'm sending them off just now. I absolutely forgot to give them a seed for a while because I think swapping over from doing my own restream to coming here, and I got lost in there somewhere. But we're all good. We've got the countdown going for them. We'll be off here soon, on stream soon.
All right, well, I am thrilled to see where they go from here. There's been a lot of really interesting early game routing decisions. So I'm
Yeah,
super excited to see what our runners decide to do.
I don't think I've yet seen a like emergent strategy come out for early game. It's really been a lot of runner choice.
Yeah, and everybody's got their own different flavor of what they prefer to do. You see, most people, I would say, tend to go to the right. They tend to head towards the castle first. But with all of the different settings and the Teleria attachment, the warp to the left is open immediately, so some people tend to do that also. We're straight into it, so we're going to see neutral blue orb, which is not that bad, and Aura Serpent minus, which is kind of an unfortunate spell here. So we've got the damage rando in full force. Any given orb can be neutral plus or minus, so either double damage, half damage, or normal damage. And the associated spell and ring, if the ring does damage, will have the same multiplier assigned to it if it's the same orb. So neutral blue is okay, but not what our runners are going to be looking for.
Yeah, and those multipliers are general. Some orbs, like our plasma and gun orbs, inherit better from being plus orbs because they are a bit worse and weren't seeing enough use, and we already have divergence. WindFaeMaiden going to the left, Nochibato headed to the right.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. This is really cool. So WindFae is going to be using the Teleria to get over this broken bridge, which kind of changes what you have access to right at the start. And what you can do is you can go over to this left side, you can get an extra check, and you can tag a warp. And this warp is one you're going to have to come back to at some point anyway. So this is, you know, essentially time neutral, because this is stuff you're going to have to travel through right at the beginning. But sometimes it opens up something interesting.
Yeah, it's a walk everyone has to do. Nochibato doing something different. I haven't seen this yet. Going to the lower warp by Bat Ledge and doing a warp back to the refugee camp and back. And it's going to be headed back towards the right.
So that warp actually is really important. That warp means that if Nochibato finds some warp shards earlier on, he'll be able to use them. WindFaeMaiden, by going left first and then warping back to the refugee camp, turns that on sort of by necessity in her routing. Nochibato making the choice to sort of warp in and then warp back out is deliberately making that choice to turn on those warp shards, which is very cool. Now, Nochibato has the warp at the bottom unlocked, which WindFae doesn't. And WindFae has the warp on the left unlocked, closer to Serene, which Nochibato doesn't. And otherwise, they're pretty close to each other, right? Like, they're within a screen of each other here. Nochibato opting to raise the drawbridge and make this check. WindFae hot on his heels.
We see our first of probably many trap items. Trap items inherently are just bad for the players. They have funny effects. That one poisoned them. You can get any of the 3 statuses, a few enemy spawn traps, and a new one that is, in my opinion, the funniest of the bunch, that will just throw you across the screen.
I love the throw stun trap. Definitely my favorite of all the traps now that it's been implemented.
Yeah,
we also found a piece of progression down in the moat. It's the elevator keycard, which isn't going to be useful until our runners make it to the present. But once they make it to the present, might influence what kind of decisions they're making there. And otherwise, we're seeing our runners kind of neck and neck here. Another orb.
Nether plus.
Nice.
Runners very happy to see this.
Yeah, any plus orb at the start is going to be helpful.
Nether is one of our fastest orbs to use, so
just short of
very
win.
nice.
And a Timespinner piece. So this is part of the win condition for the game. There are 5 Timespinner pieces in the game, 3 gears, a spindle, and a wheel. Most of them are just MacGuffins, but the wheel actually includes the ability to stop time, which is a very powerful ability, both for movement abilities, you can kind of jump on enemies if you want to, and for navigation, just not having to deal with the enemies in the room is pretty helpful. But they're going to need all 5 of those pieces in order to make it to the Ancient Pyramid and fight the final bosses there. And then depending on how the routing of the seed works out, they may or may not need a warp beacon, which is one way to get to the Ancient Pyramid, or they might need to find all 3 of the laser gate items in order to make it to the lab, and use the lab as the teleport to the Ancient Pyramid.
Yep. When we see those warp beacons, we'll go a little bit more into them, but right now it's kind of just a extension of the Unchained Key flag that we've seen from last year. So if you're familiar with that, good. If not, we'll cover it a little bit more in depth later, because they can unlock random spots in any time period, or for the time period that they are for. So they have pretty big relevance in logic and decision making. But you know, it's good to have one in our hands, so we can sort of. And that was a Plasma Geyser plus. Good for 2 things. It is a plus spell, which inherently means it does a lot more damage. We're really happy to see that, but it's also one of our pink items. These pink items used to access the, I believe it's called Yas Queen Room, which can only be opened by having Plasma Geyser spell that we're seeing right there.
And then the other added benefit is... Sorry, go ahead.
Plasma Geyser, Plasma Orb, or Royal Ring.
And like we were saying before, the plus and minus status follows all the items of that orb. So Plasma, the melee orb, will be plus as well, which is going to be a huge find if they find it. That's not important right now. What's important right now is the modern warp beacon that Nochibato has found, and that WindFaeMaiden has just found, following hot on his heels.
I didn't actually see where that ended up being.
I didn't see where the warp went either, but we're going to see it on WindFae's side.
Yep, the sewers entrance. That is right after our Lake Desolation area, before our library area.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nochibato deciding really not to go to the modern period. Nochibato not in the present, instead following the sort of past chain of logic and going to the Siren's Cave, upper Caves of Banishment.
D-card.
Yeah, potentially really interesting.
We'll see WindFae come across one of those D-card gates here.
Yeah, WindFae will definitely come across one of those D-card gates. In order to get out of the library, you are going to need the D-card. So the elevator key card isn't going to help until she finds that D-card in the Siren's Cave. And knowing what I know about WindFae, it might be a bit, since there's several underwater checks in the Siren's Cave, which means she won't really be tempted to go there until either she has the water mask, or it's one of the last couple of locations that are left.
Yep, lots of runners like to route in all of the possible checks, So because there are, I believe, 3 or 4 underwater checks there, a lot of runners will wait until they have that water mask to be able to get all of those, as well as the few above water checks. But this is kind of what Nochibato is hoping for. With that D card in hand, we'll have more access to the library when they get there.
We just saw Nochibato cruise past the Cantorin room. I didn't see what boss was there. I think it was a kind of a longer name, but I didn't see what the fight actually was. Oh, Prince Nuvius. It
looks like Prince Nuvius.
Yep. I suspect Nochibato's not going to try and take that fight anytime soon. Having any of the three, any of the 3 dad-likes, as they're called, Prince Nuvius, Emperor Nuvius, or Emperor Volturalis, are just really, really rough fights without some more vertical movement, without a double jump or a celestial sash.
Yep. You're basically forced to take some hits, and finding our double jump, the succubus hairpin.
Very nice.
To take that dad-like fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she might. She is, I think, happy to take some of the harder fights in the game and not blink an eye at it. Nochibato struggling a bit over here in the sewers. These Chauffeur helicopters are a huge pain to deal with, and can take, even with a lot of practice, can sometimes knock you off of these moving platforms in a way that is very irritating to deal with.
They are absolute menaces if you don't have any way of not taking these platforms here.
Mm-hmm. But at this point, positions are slightly swapped. Nochibato following in WindFae's footsteps and checking out the library, which she has already gone through. And WindFae heading over to the left side of the present, in Lake Desolation now. Still a bunch of checks in Lake Desolation that she's not going to have access to, since neither of our runners have found fire. And but finding single jump all the way there definitely opens up quite a few checks that she wouldn't have otherwise been able to get.
Absolutely. And let's see what was behind that D card. Just Tailwind Ring? Oh, WindFae's gonna love that sign.
Yeah.
WindFae.
It was Tailwind Plus?
Really like it. Tailwind was Plus.
Oh,
so that is our Wind Orb like, and believe it or not, WindFae really likes the Wind
Orb. So we're still seeing some, Empire Crown, that's nice. That is, in fact, the best helm for damage purposes in the game. One of the Empire Eternal combo, you'll find the Eternal jacket or coat later on, that will be the other piece of it.
The Eternal coat is our best in slot armor, but we have a few good helmets.
Mm-hmm.
Empire, like Jim said, is the best for damage, but we also have
the Eternal Crown?
I wanted to call it the Princess Crown, but I don't know what it's called.
The Valetian Crown.
Yes. That one increases our aura regen, and the Eternal Crown will increase our sand regen. Both good in their own right, but most people will just opt for more damage because, damage.
Oh, yep, there's WindFae taking the Cantorin fight. See, deliberately taking the Cantorin fight, which is a hard fight, now that she has the double jump. But also, taking this for one check, as opposed to going down to the Siren's Cave and orphaning some of those underwater checks. Nochibato, though, taking advantage of that D card that was found, and getting to use the elevator key card while navigating the Vandergrey Tower. Now I've got you infected. I think it's the Vandergrey Towers.
Who knows? Towers.
The towers. The elevator towers.
These are the towers that contain elevators.
Yes,
elevator
absolutely.
Towers it is.
Mm-hmm. Found some things, and with no C key card or B key card, no way to get across to the right tower. So immediately going towards the left side, Lake Desolation, where WindFae's already been. So Nochibato's going to be picking up his double jump very soon here.
Forward with double jump right there.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see what
Very
decision he
happy to
makes
see
from here.
that.
Still no way to burn the vines, but WindFaeMaiden now going through those areas where the vines are in the past. This means that she is again abandoning a few checks here. By not being able to burn the vines, she'll need to come back for those if she wants to get all of the checks that are behind the vines in the present. And then there's also a couple of checks that are hidden behind the Oculus ring. There's a couple of breakable walls there that she's not going to be able to break. That said, this is still a pretty common choice, even with a couple of checks being abandoned, a couple of checks being orphaned. So not an unusual thing.
It's not too much of a time loss to need to go back and burn those mines, since you only need to burn the ones that we just saw WindFae go through, and the ones on the very left of that cover route, to be able to get everything. And then you kind of just need to route around not having gotten that third on the right side.
Yep, there's a bunch of different ways to make those routing decisions. WindFae now taking that double jump into Ilana's towers, so still missing out on that D key card. Very much waiting for Water Mask before going into the Siren's Cave. Looks like she's going to check the Golden Idol location first, which I'm not sure we've seen this from either runner yet.
No, I don't believe. Well, we haven't gone back to the Royal Towers for double jump. So. Yes, this will be a first. We'll see if WindFae actually opts to go and do, and we will.
That's what that looks like. Very cool.
This is pretty rare. You don't see runners do this check very often because it's only for one check. It's kind of out of the way. It's a pretty tanky location.
WindFae feeling very good about her damage, though. Look at that. Does she have the Bleak Ring equipped? I think she does.
Yes, that is a Bleak Ring. Bleak Ring increasing our damage when we aren't using spells, and that's what she found it.
And WindFae, a very technical player, right? She's got some speedrun history, so she knows what she's doing mechanically in this game. And also kind of an old school router is what I would call that, right? Taking the boss fight as it stands and just, going into it. But also I think it's a sign of just her confidence in what she has. Even with, is she still on blue or is she switched? I think she's still...
That's Nether.
That's Nether? Okay.
Both of our runners have swapped over to Nether because...
Yeah, with the Nether Plus and the Bleak Ring, I think she's pretty confident in taking most fights. So, not too much of a out of the way decision for her to take that fight.
Frozen Spires is a really good spell.
Yeah, I saw you using Frozen Spires in your last match. I was pretty impressed. Not a spell that I use very often, so I'm hoping to find more uses for it later.
Well, this game also features a strength and weaknesses type deal. Frozen Spires is only weak against Genza and Zeria, and is strong against 5 other bosses. So it is a ridiculously good boss killer.
Nice. Yeah, we'll see if WindFae decides to make use of that. But it's potentially a very good option for her.
Yep.
A couple of checks over on the right there that she's unfortunately had to abandon. Without Time Stop or Infinite Vertical, there's no way to get up to that ledge where the wizard was hanging out. So there's a couple of checks behind there that she's not going to be able to get now, but she might end up backtracking for later on.
Yep. We checked our buddy Merchant Crow, see what he had. Didn't look like much.
Sometimes there's some cool equipment on him. I think the same was true in the present as well. It didn't really have anything worth buying other than the warp shards.
Yep. Our Merchant Crow is guaranteed to sell warp shards under these settings, so... Finding either him in the past or in the present is a pretty big step, since it allows you to have those warp shards, and it just makes routing a lot more flexible.
So once again, after a bit of divergence, runners going in a bunch of different places. Nochibato checking out more of the present than WindFae has. WindFae clearing out maybe more of the past than Nochibato has. And now they are in the same place. Nochibato maybe 30 seconds or so behind WindFae in Ilana's towers. Both of them with about the same progression and checking out the same area.
Yep, the only thing different about their loadouts is WindFae has the A card and Nochibato has that D card.
Yeah, WindFae found that A key card as well. Found the merchant. Not the is it Merchant Crow? I think it is Merchant Crow.
Yes,
Familiar Rider. Which will let her fight the Ravenlord fight extremely later on, so not relevant in the near future.
Yep. We may or may not see that. That is behind our laser gates, so relevancy TBD.
Yeah, decent likelihood that they never get there. But WindFae's found the items, and what is next for WindFae? Heading over to Lake Serene again. Oh, heading down to the Siren Cave. Okay, so WindFae is going to be discovering that D key card sooner rather than later here.
Also capable of getting that ledge. Iron Ore Plus.
Nice.
Not the fastest orbs, so we probably won't be seeing too much of it, but
kind of a heavy hitter if you're looking for some blunt damage.
Yep. Especially if we get that Colossal Hammer Plus.
Yeah.
That'll deal some really big numbers.
Yeah, that's probably the bigger deal, is knowing the Colossal Hammer is now plus. But Nochibato going through the Genza fight at Ilana, and soon going to be making his own decisions about where to head next with this seed. There's that key card. So I'm expecting WindFae to just immediately go to the library. With D and B in hand, that's enough to grab the warp on the far side of the towers, as well as with the elevator key card, be able to see most of the content in the towers. No tablet, so not able to get past the B gated room in on the right tower. No C card, but
we're able to get past it, but
yeah, not able to see the contents of it.
I've definitely never forgotten that that's a tablet location and wasted time going through that hall. Never.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. I'm sure that's never happened to any runner.
No, who would make such a silly mistake like that?
Right. But because of the B key card specifically, she's going to be able to see quite a few more checks than Nochi did when going through this area.
But it looks like they're both on their way back over, so...
Interesting. Making the dip down to the upper sealed caves. This is sort of the present version of the Siren Cave. Oh, just grabbing the warp. All right. I respect that.
It might be turning around. That was the water mask.
Ooh, yeah, might be turning around soon. Wow, good job, Nochibato. So Nochibato's making the exact same play now that Nochibato has found the B key card, right? Going through this right side of the elevator towers. So again, they're both neck and neck here. WindFae maybe a couple of seconds behind Nochibato, but with another warp in hand. And
WindFae opting to go do the
yeah. Taking advantage of that water mask.
Yep,
I love this.
Turning around.
I personally think that the upper sealed caves frequently has the goods, and so I'm loving this play from WindFae. This feels really good to me. Nochibato clearing out.
That's our second laser access.
Yeah, that's true. That is our second laser access. Still waiting on a third one in order to get past the military hangar. But
that's it. Oh, the throw trap. Time save. Didn't have to walk back.
Love it.
Those ones are so silly. It's my favorite of the recent additions to the randomizer. Hey, Upper Sirens with the goods.
It's like with the goods.
That is not only very hard required, but also allows us to stop time and completely ignore enemies.
Yeah,
well,
so that
like mostly.
I think with double jump, that puts exactly 2 additional checks into logic. Oh, 3. Nope, 2. 2 additional checks into logic. No, bombardiers. 3. 3 additional checks into logic.
4. There's 2 next to the lower struggle juggle. Or there's the 1 extra next to the lower struggle juggle that they are now able to reach with that time stop.
Yeah, there's the 2 struggle juggles in Ilana's towers, and then bombardiers in the past. They can't get to present bombardiers yet because they don't have laser gate access. And Lake Serene
there's
is
just the letter or whatever it is next to the lower bombardiers. Or not bombardiers, struggle juggle. That they also have access to because they couldn't get up there.
Oh yeah, they couldn't get up there to begin with. Yep, you're right. So 5. This is entirely in the weeds now.
They got access to a few more checks, and they're all kind of around in weird places.
Yeah.
A big takeaway.
So I'm not expecting any of our runners to immediately backtrack for some of the wheel checks that they now have access to. But we'll see where they decide to head from here. WindFae clearing out the rest of the elevator towers now that she's gone through the Siren's Cave. Nochibato, having just gone through the Siren's Cave and picked up that wheel, just like WindFae, so kind of restoring their effective parity. And now making the decision to go... Looks like almost doing Siren's Cave in the past and then backing off from it.
This looks like it's gonna be a...
This looks like a waterfall.
Yeah, waterfall check, and then maybe back over to that ledge and whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of onesie twosie checks. I love Wef Jepster for introducing this phrasing. There are a lot of easily abandoned checks that you would need to go back for. And it's one here and two there, and each of them takes like 20-30 seconds to go get and then warp out of. And they're all fairly equivalent to each other. It's like, do you make the right decision or not? Eternal Coat, a nice pickup. That's, as we were saying before, another vested slot pickup.
Yep, vested slot armor. I don't think any armor even has more damage or defense. I think that is like simply the best.
It really is, yeah. It's the best for both offense and defense. And I don't think there's any armor that includes other less tangible benefits like the Eternal Crown or the Valetian Crown.
Nope. We did see a Shadow Seal pickup on Nochibato's side in that underwater check.
That's gonna be nice to have.
Shadow Seal gives you more damage for the more HP you are missing, and it is not percentage based. The more HP you have, the more damage you can get. So it scales incredibly well.
So, Nochibato checking the much easier location of Lake Serene over here. Now that we have the water masks, Nochibato can get through this area and head towards the Maw Cave in the map. And WindFae taking the exact opposite tactic and using her A keycard to go into the Zarian Caves, which is the present version of the Maw Caves, and one of the hardest locations in the game. The enemies here scaled way higher up and do a lot more damage as well. So, definitely showing some bias from the technical runner on the left.
Yeah, absolutely. It is also great for experience. I believe both of our runners picked up Selen's Bangle, which I'm not sure the exact effects, but increases the amount of experience you gain.
Mm-hmm.
So
doubles experience gained.
Doubles? That
Doubles.
is ridiculous.
It is.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Getting a massive benefit out of going here because while these enemies are scaled way higher, they are giving way more experience, and now we've doubled that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so
we found fire.
There you go. First source of fire for WindFae. Nochibato and WindFae doing the time separated high five. Nochibato in the past version, the Maw Caves, and WindFae in the present version, the Zarian Caves. The Sealed Caves, I believe they are called, versus the Caves of Banishment for Nochibato in the past.
I do believe that is correct.
And this is actually going to be slightly... Oh, Nochibato's on the spindle.
That is our spindle, another of the 5 gold MacGuffins.
Yep.
So WindFae will eventually need to make her way over here.
Yeah, it's going to be important. We'll see if WindFae finds anything in Zarian's Cave. Given what I've seen of Nochibato's routing so far, despite whether or not Nochibato has the A card, I suspect it'll be a bit before Nochibato decides to check Zarian Caves when it comes to that. Where did she find the A card again?
I believe it might have... I think it might have been the left side of the Desolation.
That could have been. WindFae just immediately going into the Zarian... I love the... I'm going to use the family-friendly term and say confidence on WindFae's side. This is the hardest, one of the hardest, not the hardest, one of the hardest boss locations in the game. Very high damage, very high HP, and WindFae just not even bothering to save her, just going on in there and trusting her combat capabilities and her skills, and making short work of the boss that was there. Goodbye, Nightmare.
Would you believe that that boss is 3,000 HP? It
I
really
would
doesn't look
believe
like
that.
it when you go through it that quickly. But like, a lot of HP.
So, Nochibato, continuing this trend of finding progression very quickly, in addition to the spindle, has also found the light wall in the Maw Caves, which means this is going to be a heck of a place to hang out. Oh my god.
Light wall
So light
and
wall,
gas mask.
yeah, right. Light wall, one of our 2 items that provide infinite vertical. Light wall, of course, the worst way to do it because it requires aura and requires some positioning versus celestial sash where you just press a button and go up. But this is a source of infinite vertical, which gives access to quite a few things that our runners wouldn't have had access to before.
Yes, that infinite vertical is massively important. As far as we can get with jumping on top of enemies' heads and then double jumping off of that, it's not nearly infinite.
Mm-hmm. And this is a much easier way of getting the same kind of height in some other situations.
Yes, it is far easier. Light wall was also plus.
Ooh.
A lot of people don't think of it like this. Well, a lot of the people that haven't played the randomizer or haven't listened to me talk about it. Light wall is a great source of damage.
Mm-hmm.
You just drop a few in a boss, and it's just free damage if the boss isn't moving around too much.
Yep, especially on a fight like the one Nochibato was just at, the Ifrit fight.
And a lot of bosses are weak to the radiant damage source, so it's very worth it to have a loadout with light wall and just toss a few on a boss, even if you aren't planning on reapplying the light walls. That's
another
a
gear.
That was underwater.
That's incredible.
We've got a lot of underwater stuff.
Yeah, WindFaeMaiden WindFaeMaiden now hasn't backtracked to Siren's Cave because why would you backtrack having gone in there once?
Right.
This feels like I'm very much resonating with the randomizer player vibes from WindFae here. Just like, oh, I don't want to leave those checks. And now that I've left those checks, I don't want to go back to get those checks.
Yeah, exactly. So Nochibato, 1 gear away from being able to finish the game, needs either 1 more laser access to get into the lab or our time warp, not time warp, our mysterious warp beacon to get into the pyramid.
Yeah, Nochibato's routing felt kind of all over at the beginning. It made some interesting choices for sure, and those choices have absolutely been paying off. Like, all of these pieces are in places that WindFae will eventually go, but Nochibato making the decision and the ordering of going to those places first, definitely working out well for them.
Yes, absolutely. The only thing Nochibato doesn't have that he's probably looking for right now is that fire that we found in the Zarion caves.
That's true. WindFae did immediately go back and burn the vines. I wasn't watching if she actually checked those locations in the present, but I think she decided to route this. I think she didn't. I think she decided to route this area in while she was still in the past.
Yeah, which makes sense. Nochibato picking up that A card might be seeing that Zarion cave tip.
Yeah, we'll see. We know from WindFae's exploration that there's not really anything relevant in the Zarion cave. So if he never checks it out, he'll probably be doing okay. But WindFae finally going through the Maw Cave, found that spindle and the light wall.
Yep. Spindle, light wall, gas mask. Maw Cave has it all. Yeah, and Nochibato is probably looking pretty good unless that fire has something behind it.
Yeah, that's true. He is still delayed on the fire checks, although going through that upper area, even without fire, which is something that I think WindFae was putting off specifically until she had fire. Was there anything good up here?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Oh, and taking advantage of the double jump to get a couple of checks that he may have orphaned previously. Yeah, I like that. Not that there's anything particularly impressive here, but going to get some checks. WindFae taking advantage of that
offensive light wall.
Light wall against Ifrit, especially good. Ifrit is weak to radiant damage, and the light wall acts as a wall and blocks some of his projectiles. So it's really, really convenient.
Acting as a wall?
I know, right? What are the odds? But now WindFae probably going through, yeah, this feels fairly common. Using this kind of loop around, going through Lake Serene, and then through into the Maw Caves, and then from the Maw Caves up into the Siren's Cave to get all of those other checks that she passed by earlier. So we'll definitely be seeing her picking up that second gear in the near future.
Yep. Really smooth routing here from WindFae.
Mm-hmm.
Or
not?
Or not.
Oh, okay. Nope, the
warp
warp out is fine. Since she's already gotten Bat Ledge, so she doesn't need to go right from here. So taking this warp here and then going left to get the two underwater areas, I think is a fine move. Just as long as she's not skipping it, it's important that she's not skipping.
Yes, skipping this would have been really unfortunate for her.
Oh, Nochibato following that A card. This is unfortunate for him because we know there's not going to be anything good here. But I absolutely understand seeing the A card in a fairly accessible location and being like, my opponent has already done Zaria and I am so behind. Well, that'll be a couple of minutes for him. And in the meantime, WindFae is finding her second gear. So WindFae now in the same progression position as Nochibato. Looking for that one final gear and looking for the mysterious warp beacon or that third laser gate.
Yep. Coming down to MacGuffin hunt. Go figure.
A lot of Timespinner races end up in this particular position, right? You need that last piece.
Timespinner has a lot of MacGuffins.
It does have a lot of
MacGuffins. Anywhere.
That is absolutely true. Nochibato seeing the glass pumpkin in the Zarian cave and opting to save and quit out of it to save a little bit of time and not keep that particular item. So we got Waterfall on WindFae's side. We see the Sun Ring and the Eternal Coat, which I think this is something that Nochibato's already checked. I remember Nochibato getting the Eternal Coat.
Yep. They're kind of both treading each other's steps again. I'm thinking that we might need to head back to one of our struggle juggle locations.
That seems pretty likely. Yeah, we've missed quite a few checks by virtue of not having the height. So something in Alana's Towers could definitely be it.
But we are going to
finishing burning the vine
yeah,
so she can go check the firelock locations in the present. That's
we're gonna go see those fire locations. So we will see now if the A card was or the Zarian caves were complete bait. We don't know if the A card itself is gonna be complete bait. We've got a few more locations locked behind it.
And deciding to warp to the right side for a slightly shorter run into those fire check locations. And because she has killed the boss at Maw's location, she'll be able to check the two Captain's Chest locations too, which is an element of completion that I personally like to see. I think this is a good choice. Forbidden Plus means Jin Inferno is plus.
There's radiant. We've got plus weapons everywhere.
Yeah, this is really lining up very well. Like our runners are spoiled for choice when it comes to how they want to fight.
Was our
things.
last
And there's the laser gate. All right, we have our path forward.
We are a year from go.
Not only a gear from go mode, but a huge amount of opened area. The laser gate opens up the entire right half of the present map. Yes, immediately into the gyre.
Yep, and that laser being behind fire means that the Zarian caves were not entirely bait, just mostly bait.
Just mostly bait. So WindFaeMaiden going into the gyre here. This is a optional area in the vanilla game that provides access to the final two optional bosses and a couple of neat kind of bonus items. In this case, it is only in logic with the wheel. So if you didn't have the wheel, nothing in here would be an option. But since WindFae has the wheel, I think this is a good choice because there's 3 checks in here, and with the amount of board clears that she has, right, like the powerful spells that she has access to, I think this is really cool.
Oculus Ring. I'm sure WindFae is very happy to be seeing that and not upset at all.
I would actually expect her to be pretty happy seeing that here, because this is kind of an out-of-the-way place. This is maybe a place that not everybody is going to go to. So, I don't know if she feels behind on how long it took her to get to those fire checks. She might. But if she doesn't, she's probably thrilled at the the out-of-the-way access for Oculus.
Yeah, 100%. Oculus Ring. This game has hidden walls, and we aren't allowed to break them in this flag set unless we have that Oculus Ring. So, yeah, it ends up being pretty important.
Nochibato, like, maybe 40-50 seconds behind WindFae, picking up that laser gate.
Nochibato finishing up those fire checks. Just a little bit behind.
My money is on Nochibato not going into the Gyre. I don't think he will, and I think he will not get the Oculus Ring, but I'm not sure if the Oculus Ring is going to matter. Like, this is a very late Oculus Ring. It might still matter. That last gear could be behind one of the breakable walls. But...
it can be anywhere, so... Yeah.
Gosh, that's a lot of backtracking to go check, you know, random breakable walls. Like, what if that last gear is in basement loot? Like, behind the breakable wall in basement loot?
I have never, in any of these seats, gone back for basement loot.
Right? Like, it's just be so awkward. But we will be seeing a bunch more territory here, kind of going through the military hangar, going through the lab, in order to get to the area where you can warp to the pyramid. That warp isn't turned on until you have all 5 pieces, so probably at that point we'll see our runners making some additional decisions, whether to move on to Dad's Towers or whether to explore something else. WindFae picking up Kobo in the military hangar and immediately heading back to the library. WindFae extremely believes in bosses. This is kind of cool to see, right? The moment she feels like she has access to a boss and has the ability to take it down, she's just been immediately... I love that confidence for her. The Ifrit check is 3 locations, so not a bad choice. In this case, nothing there, but worth checking out.
Yeah, but with passing through that teleporter room, why not just go check it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the perfect time.
You're gonna end up checking it anyways, and who knows? Maybe if you feel like you're a little bit behind, you feel like your opponent goes into lab first, and you pull a quick one over on them.
Nochibato, in fact, has not gone through the Gyre. So, ooh, did we see whether Oculus Ring was plus minus anything?
I did not bother looking, no.
Me neither. Because we have the Eye Orb. Whoa, Gear 3 behind the breakable wall! Oh no! Wow,
and
that is...
Not having gone into Gyre will not be able to pick that up.
Yeah, that is... This is very much WindFae's race to win or lose as she sees fit. Nochibato, at this point, would need to go into the Gyre and then decide to backtrack into the lab in order to get that last gear piece. And that's going to be... That's a long chain for Nochibato to make. Like, Nochibato absolutely capable of making some good decisions and making that happen. But I don't think even at his fastest he'll be able to do that before WindFae is won. So WindFae...
Here.
Interesting. WindFae deciding that she's not in go mode. WindFae still checking a couple of chests on the way through. But at this point, all she has to do...
that mysterious beacon.
Oh, that's true. That would be a little bit faster. But yeah, all she has to do is finish going through the lab, defeat whoever is at the Genza location, and then fight an additional boss there in order to break time and head to the Ancient Pyramid. So I guess, you know, her not going for the Spider Hell location that Nochibato just checked kind of makes a lot of sense in that context. Nice to find a mysterious warp beacon and get that easier access to the pyramid, but not worth going that far out of the way.
Yep, in the context of what each runner knows, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
They kind of just hoping, you know, maybe I can save some time on this. Get the right side warp from the warp beacon.
WindFae also not taking the Ravenlord fight for probably similar reasons. Like, that absolutely makes sense in this context.
Yep, and Nochibato knowing that they are missing one item from Go at this point. Checking everything they can.
Absolutely. Nochibato's going to have to be thorough here because that one item could be literally anywhere. WindFae deciding not to fight Ravenlord.
a bold decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not for her.
So WindFae deciding to go after Sandman, an objectively easier fight in a lower health location. So absolutely an understandable decision. But this is all that stands between WindFae and the pyramid. And the pyramid and 2 more bosses are all that stands between WindFae and a win. Nochi fighting Kantaran. Oh, this is Kantaran at Ravenlord, isn't it?
Yes, this is Kantaran at Ravenlord.
Okay,
5,000 health.
Yeah. And a lot of damage.
Unfortunately, one of those 2 bosses that does actually resist our light wall, so we're not getting free damage from that, which is very sad.
Kantaran also just moves around a lot. Like, it's really hard to hit him with a light wall.
It's very true. With no Celestial Sash, we'll be able to see a cool bit of tech, assuming that the giant pit isn't flooded.
Oh, that's right. We might see the light wall jump. Which another one of those things that, like, WindFae as a speedrunner is very practiced at, so I would expect this to go very smoothly for her. And it's unnecessary.
And it's flooded. But you could see her prepare, and she had the light wall ready to cast, and then immediately dunked herself in water.
Yep. Yeah, so Nochibato, as expected, finding nothing of use after Ravenlord, and moving on to the Genza fight. Briefly heading towards the breakable wall before remembering, oh yeah, I can't do that.
Oh yeah, sorry Llama, we're not checking Light Grid. It will never happen, and I'm very sorry for you.
Yeah, not this soon.
We might not even see it because Maw is such a pushover and have together.
Yeah, Maw is hardly a challenge. And the final fight, Golden Idols.
Wins Golden Idol, which is weak to our blunt damage. It's underwater, so we don't have to worry about black. Once again, bleak never.
Extremely strong. And let's get your exclamation marks in chat. That is a win for WindFae. I'm not in the race time room. What was her official final time?
WindFae's official final time in the race time GG room is 46:05.
Excellent job.
Very good finish time. And welcome on in, WindFae.
Hello.
How you feeling?
Pretty great. Once I saw that last gear was behind a wall.
Yeah, you made the choice to go into the Gyre, which Nochibato did not. But the 2 of you were hot on each other's footsteps for most of the game. There was a couple of divergences, and then you just kind of immediately reconnect somewhere else. And yeah, Nochibato was right behind you and chose not to go into the Gyre.
I was like, I don't normally throw this in, but I already have time stop. I need like one more thing, and I'm right at the labs. Let's just do it. And then I saw there was the Oculus ring, and I was like, oh no. And I was like, I'm just gonna go to lab. I got Kobo, and it's like, I'll go do that real quick. This is maybe. And then when I saw that last year behind that lab breakable wall, I was like, oh god, thank goodness I did that.
Mm-hmm.
You also got what you asked for. The buried, completely optional Raven Lord fight.
Where was Raven Lord? Do we know? Oh, that's right. It was the second option.
It was Voltereless.
I had so much damage. I got that lucky drop of a Galaxy Earring, and then immediately got another one, and I had Nether Orb plus already, and I was like, well, time to just stack this, I guess.
Yeah, Nether and Bleak was doing some real good work for you.
Yeah, those, like, vortexes on Ilana were doing, like, 350 damage.
Incredible.
It was wild. And I was taking out those mushroom towers in the past caves real fast. Like, it was just one hit. I was able to fly through those caves.
We were excited when Plasma Geyser was plus, but no Plasma Orb so far. In fact, I have yet to see a seed in this tournament that has a plus Plasma Orb in it.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Alright. Nochibato's gone through Dad's towers now, so, Oh, there's still going to be a couple of checks on the right.
Tablet. Found a tablet, which is, as we know, completely bait.
I was really hoping I would find that too, because I did Zarian, and right behind Zarian was a card, and I was like, I sure hope there's something there, because otherwise it's not worth it, and it wasn't.
Zarian caves were only mostly bait. That fire was the only one that was accessible to us.
Yeah. Although there was the pyro. No, did I need fire to get one of the lab axes?
It was behind. Yep. It was behind lasers, which were behind fire.
Ooh. So that means Nochi also went and did Zarian, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that was because that was pretty early on. That was like the 2 mushroom tower room.
Yep. You went into Zarian caves at the exact same time that Nochibato was going into the Maw caves. So kind of high-fived across time there. That's
kind of fun. I was thinking about it, and I was like, I got a lot of damage. I can do this real quick.
Yeah, okay, so one thing I wanted to ask you is bosses. Obviously, you felt very confident in your ability to take on bosses. You had a lot of good gear. You had the technical skill, right? Like, obviously, it's all there. We've seen a lot of other runners in this tournament just look at bosses and decide not to go after them. Even if they're doable, even if they're not hard. Like, one check for the time investment doesn't seem worth it a lot of the time. What's your take on that?
My thoughts are, like, especially for, like, twins, they're right there. Like, it's, like, 3 rooms away, and it's usually pretty fast. I'm also just, like, someone that kind of likes to go through. Like, when I got Oculus Ring, I was very tempted to go and check off checks. But I was like, I'm just going to keep to the lab. I need to focus on this because I'm so close. But I like getting those one-off checks pretty much whenever I can. So if I'm right next to a boss, I'm just like, I'll do this now. That way I don't have to think about it later. And if it's good, I know a lot of the time a lot of people don't check these, so it'll be very limited for me.
Yeah, especially with this fantastic damage that the seed was providing you with.
That early Plasma Geyser Plus melted some bosses. Like, I got double hits on Azure for some reason on my first cast, and I was like, sick. This thing's already like half health.
Yeah, I saw that. Plasma Geyser's weird. You can sometimes get double or even triple on big enough bosses. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what bosses I didn't see. I saw the, like, Nightmare fight at Zarian, and I was like, do I need to be worried about this? And then I saw my damage, and I was like, nah, I'm fine. I've practiced this so many times in any percent runs, or true ending runs, I'll be fine.
Nochibato going through some of these light wall required checks or vertical required checks and finding nothing but bait, as can be expected.
Yeah, I have no idea where Sash was.
There's a
Plasma Orbit Struggle Juggle.
Oh, that's nice.
That seems inconvenient if you wanted to, like, use your like main orb. Like, why would you store it there?
I liked the seed though. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it led you in a bunch of different directions, and requiring lab is, that's refreshing.
Having lab required is nice for the first time in a while.
So yeah, definitely an interesting seed. Nochibato now going to the Golden Idol location, so yet another check that we know is not going to do him much good.
I was really happy finding Hairpin when I did, because as soon as I got Modern, I think I warped and I checked what I could and the library went left, and I was like, oh, double jump, like right before I kind of need to go and do a bunch of checks here.
Yeah, you went pretty quickly compared to Nochibato, who stuck around in the past for quite a while, like cleaning up that. But his advantage was he did pick up that D card earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So when he went to that source warp that was unlocked, did not have to go back for those.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, a couple of interesting advantages both sides. Like, it definitely felt, like one person had an advantage for a while and the other person had an advantage for a while. Like, the routing played out in such a way that each of you found progression the other didn't have. And then you would sync up again after another couple of minutes and be like, okay, well, I guess they're both in the same place now and nothing has actually happened.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Like, that sounds pretty fun to just watch too.
Yeah, no, this is a really interesting race to watch. At that Oculus ring at the end was just
I was so
quite a finish.
Worried I was gonna get baited by that to just go everywhere, and I kept telling myself like maybe I'll just go find the warp somewhere around here and like go do Spider Hell in the lab. But I was like, no, I just need to go. Like, I know what I can do.
No, I think you made some really good decisions. It's something that we remarked on. WindFae is in go mode, but a quick check that results in a pyramid warp would be faster for her here than going through the rest of the lab. But good decision making to not go after the longer checks.
When I did Varney's Tower 2, I forgot that I had a card already, and those Hellgazers almost like they were chunking my health, and I was like, oh, this is bad. I took like 2 hits and was almost dead.
Yeah, those spiders are awful. So Nochibato now following the tablet, which he picked up in Emperor's Towers. I guess this could potentially provide like a mysterious beacon. Get him into the pyramid where he will absolutely check all of the items in the pyramid, and those are also going to be bait.
well, we know these checks here at the April location aren't anything.
Yeah.
Other than just bait themselves.
Sea-Sash would also be nice if we didn't have a flooded regret.
Yeah, I was really excited. I was like, are we gonna see the light wall tech? And we were preparing for it, and then immediately dunked into the water, and I was like, man.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so ready for this. I did some really cool ones earlier in some practice runs. There was one going up. Don't ask me why I did it this way, but I was going up the shaft and past caves, like to the treasure room. And if you go from the side, there's a part where if you just light wall and do the double jumps, you actually go up too fast and you'll hit the ceiling. But I actually got on the other side of the light wall and was able to grab the other side. I was like, wow. No one saw that. That sucks. It's like, that felt awesome.
Light wall and double jump has such a high skill ceiling for movement. It's so much fun.
I felt like I was doing really good with the movement here.
Oh, I think you were doing really well. Oh, Time Worn Warp Beacon. That's not the beacon we're looking for.
Excuse me, I just assumed that we had that one already.
Nope. Time Worn Warp Beacon and Jin Inferno side by side. So,
and that's a plus, right?
Yep, Jin Inferno is plus.
That's right.
So I'm sure Nochibato will cream any bosses that he runs through at this point. Now following the C card, which we know is
and there's our last fire item.
Okay. Found all 4.
Found all 4. They were all behind fire in one way or another.
Yes, they were all fire locked except for the one in Zarian's cave.
Except for Infernal Flames, which was not fire locked.
So Nochibato going through the rest of the towers. We're probably going to see a full clear of this seed. I don't know when Nochibato is going to think about checking the Gyre. But once he checks the Gyre, I don't know how fast he's going to go to the lab breakable walls specifically.
Where was the C card? I never found that.
In Emperor's Towers.
Yep.
Quite a lot of bait in Emperor's Towers, it turns out.
Yeah, apparently.
A tablet, a C card. More fire. Pretty sure. No. There was no fire in Dad's towers.
I just feel extremely lucky that I did Geyer and immediately found the one wall that I needed to break.
Oh, here we go. Nochibato into the Geyer. All right, so making some good decisions finally.
Okay.
I say finally. That's not fair to Nochibato. Like, every decision that has been made so far has been completely reasonable.
There's not really a bad decision in these flags. Anything
anything has the
it's
potential
just-
to pay off, right?
Yeah.
That's the randomizer life for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are no good or bad decisions. It's just correct and incorrect decisions.
Right, and that's runtime. You don't know any of that beforehand, and when you're making any decision, it has the potential to be right or not right, and you'll just never know until you make it.
Sees the Oculus Ring and is probably like, oh god, no.
Right?
Please.
Of course, at this point,
Yeah.
finding all the different progression items that Nochibato is finding in all the various places that he's finding them, how does he know which one is bait and which one isn't?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
do you
exactly.
start backtracking for the breakable walls now, or do you go for the tablet locations, or do you follow, like, go fight Varndagroth, or...
There's just too much.
Mm-hmm. are we
Looks
headed
like
from here?
we go fight Varnagroth.
All right, go fight Varndagroth. I'm in.
I'm in. Who's here? Who we beating up?
Let's guess.
I'm trying.
No, we saw Sandman.
Have
Yeah,
we seen
whoever's-
Terrorless?
We've not
We
seen Terrorless yet.
haven't. Have we
Well,
seen
let's go
actually
beat up-
Barney? We saw Barney.
We saw
Yeah, I
Barney.
think.
Yeah, he was at Boots.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, Terrorless. Hit him with a meteor. He'll probably one-shot him.
Yeah, with the being
Yeah,
a
I would have loved to see the meatball just drop right on top of his head, but a couple of radiant hits will also do the trick in the Varndagroth location. Anybody's going to be a pushover.
bewildered that the starting items were so good that I just was able to run with them the entire time. Well, I guess Blue Orb was technically the first orb, but Nether Orb was close.
Yeah,
I think it's-
Blue Orb was like a decent start, and then the very soon Nether was like, okay, we are good for damage here. And then everything came up, like everything just kept coming up plus, like Plasma Geyser was plus, and is kind of spoiled for choice on damage.
Neutral Blue Orb is forever something that I will run, but that is just, I think, the speedrun talking.
Mm-hmm. So, do we go for lab? You hovered over lab briefly on the map.
No, we do unfortunately have a forfeit from Nochibato. in the race
There it
room.
is. Yep,
Probably
just a couple of texts too many at this point.
Just over it. Like,
Mhm.
I have so many one-off leads, I can't pick the right one. I definitely have had one of those seeds during practice where I'm just like, I just can't seem to pick the right random progression.
It happens.
All right, well, let's see if we can get Nochibato into the Discord. There he is.
Yep.
These feel like they've been... This one wasn't too mean, it was just so specific. But there have been some mean runs that I've just had generally with these, like, seeds. I had 2 Required Ravenlord for practice earlier today.
Woof.
It's been something.
How you doing, Nochibato?
Bad.
Fair.
Tired?
Which Oculus Ring check is it?
Lab.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
That would have been the last
I-
one I went back to, too.
I
No.
did Geyer first, and just that was the first broken wall that I did, and I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I found that Oculus Ring about 3 minutes ago, and no, I'm not doing all those checks. You can't pay me enough to do all those checks right now.
Fair.
I saw you finish. I was like, okay, I'm probably somewhat close. Nope.
You were.
And you were. You absolutely were. You just happened to not do Gyre, and and that led you into towers, which led you into C card and tablet, and it was unfortunate.
Honestly, this was a great race to watch, Nochibato, because you and WindFae diverged, found different progression, and then swapped sides, and then met again in the middle, and were within 30 seconds of each other again. And that happened a couple of times over the course of the seed. You were like right behind WindFae, or maybe even slightly ahead of WindFae when you got to the lab. And the only difference at that point was WindFae had done Gyre already.
So yeah, that I don't like. Gyre is slow. It's 3 checks. What are the odds, right? Can't be there. That'll be fine.
Yeah,
Very,
I normally
very
don't
easy
do it.
decision to make.
I had 2 Galaxy Earrings, and my basic attack was doing like 85 plus on Nether Orb, so I was just blowing through enemies, and I was like, why not? I can clear these pretty fast. So
I think
if that
I
was the
remember
case-
reading that Galaxy Earrings don't stack.
If they don't, I still had 2, I guess.
Just for
I
future
think
reference,
that's true.
I'm
I think
fairly
that's
certain
fair.
they don't stack.
Okay, that's good to know. Because I got 2, and I was like, oh, sick, awesome.
Yeah, I had a couple runs like that, and then I read that, and I was very sad. It's like, oh, I was doing nothing.
It's very
Cool.
sad to learn.
Dang.
I do
What
believe
else
that
do
they
we
don't do
have?
anything. But you can combine Solen's Bangle and Galaxy Earrings and
Mhm.
become an unstoppable force and the immovable object.
I know I had Selens.
Level 37,
that one
that's
was
higher than
weird.
I've gotten at most of my seeds recently.
Yeah, I mean, you had the damage, right? So you ended up killing a lot of enemies on the way through. So,
Yeah.
We also
Nochibato,
did-
how did you feel about your routing earlier on in the seed?
I mean, I liked my routing except for the fact that there was no fire anywhere, so I couldn't really go north and get the vines out of the way. So when I finally got fire, I decided to do those checks and hope that that was where everything was.
And it kind of
Not
was.
quite.
Yeah, it kind of was, but you were missing two keys to the puzzle, and you know we know how that ends up.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
It happens.
Yeah,
I didn't expect to win. I hope it was a good show for the first 46 minutes when WindFae was still going.
It was really entertaining and like a really interesting watch. It would be worth a watch back, absolutely.
Absolutely. It was a really good race.
I will be sure to do that. Maybe tomorrow. It's already 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, any additional questions from you, Zed?
No. I was just gonna quickly mention, WindFae, you are moving on to play against Planeswater in your next
Yep.
round, and
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
that's definitely a matchup.
That's
That is a must-watch for me.
That's sure hope I do random checks to that help me. I don't think I've raced Planeswater in these tournaments at all, so I'm excited too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nochibato, you are moving into the second chance bracket, and I believe that is Mike and Kobe, if I'm saying that right.
I'm Pi, yeah.
Mike and Echo Pie. Or Meek and Echo
Mike
Pie.
Kobe.
I mean, you can just call
I
him
would have
Pi.
never
That's
said that
that's
right.
what everybody.
Pi, you
calls
will
me
be
out.
you will be playing against Pi in your next match.
I know him from the ALTTPR community. He's good people, but I don't think I've ever actually raced him in anything before. So this will be interesting.
I believe I've played against Pi in a Z3R.
I
Good
think
runner.
I think you against Pi is going to be a really good race. I think you're fairly evenly matched. You might have a slight advantage. You did have a better qualifier seed for all the qualifier seeds matter. But I think you're pretty close.
I also had a better qualifier than Wind a little bit. It didn't matter.
I struggled on that so bad. I hadn't practiced in a while, and I was like, okay, this tells me I need to do this, especially when I saw I was like, what, 19? I was 9, I think. But yeah, I've been doing some more practice because I'm like, I need to do that this year.
Well,
This is
I
good.
am definitely excited for future matches in this tournament. Shout outs again to Speedgaming Live for hosting, and especially for managing to pick up this restream. This was like off of, 30 minutes or 20 minutes of notice when we rescheduled your match. So really happy
Sorry
they were
about
able to
that.
pick this one up.
Oh, you're
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you specifically to Sigma.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
Sigma-
Today was hectic.
Sigma doing good work for us here.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see what else. Oh, follow our runners. Their Twitch handles should be in chat. Follow our runners. Follow all of the Speed Gaming channels 1 through 5.
Follow our commentators.
Feel free.
Yeah, feel free.
Wishlist Timespinner 2 on Steam.
Yes,
Yes,
that is the
we
other
have
shout out that I keep
Timespinner
forgetting.
2,
We were
play
on top of that
Timespinner
last
1.
year, and I've forgotten it this year. But yeah, runners. Any final words? Any shout outs? WindFae?
I'm tired.
Fair.
You've had a long day.
Yeah.
Go rest up. You've earned it.
Thank you.
Nochi, any final words?
Just thank you to Jim, Zed, Sigma, everybody behind the scenes. Thank you for putting this on.
Yeah, thank you all.
All right, very welcome. Happy to be here. I'm doing what I love, so. All right, and I think that's going to be it for us. When is our next scheduled match? I think we have
Tomorrow 2, I think.
2 p.m. Eastern on
Yep.
Saturday. That's going to be Lunar Ray Games versus Wef Jebster, which is going to be a fantastic match. Both very skilled runners.
Mhm.
So check that out. It doesn't.
Go watch. That is the developer of the video game Lunar Ray Games, versus one of the helpers for the developer helpers for the randomizer, Wef Jebster.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, there's 2 people who are very heavily involved in both the game and the community, so it's going to be a great match. And then we have Crimdal versus Ragnoth scheduled for Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Neither of those have picked up a restream channel yet, but you can find that schedule on Speed Gaming Live's website, I believe, and we'll also be yelling our fool heads off over it in the Timespinner Discord.
yes, absolutely.
But I think that's it for us. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for joining us for this race. Thank you again to the racers for providing such good content. And catch you folks next time. Have a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
Good night.